Hey, that's how the last movie started. Also, reading. Also, if I'm supposed to be reading and absorbing all this, f*** you. And if there's a quiz, I'm keying your car, teach.
Okay, in case you haven't seen my other Star Wars videos, I wore CinemaSins 15 sins for sinning the opening crawl. Yeah, it is a bit exhausting trying to figure out new things to say, and there's still 4 movies left.
As we're about to see, the Empire is going to get their asses kicked yet again, with Luke Skywalker leading the charge.
Aside from the Death Star, during this entire series, we never see the Empire bring an aerial attack on a planet. They just send down these cumbersome Imperial walkers.
So what did they do to actually win something for once? And if they were winning, why were so many of the rebels allowed to flee across the galaxy?
So, apparently Jeremy watched a movie where the Empire forced the rebels to retreat from their hidden base, and he thinks that was the rebels winning. Like, he's sitting the movie because the Empire sent down cumbersome Imperial walkers as if that didn't help them win, when that's exactly how they won. We've entered a new level of dumb, you guys. I knew it was a bad idea to send one of the greatest films of all time.
Okay, so this is a remote ice planet, I'm assuming, where no one really lived before, because it's colder than f***. But the rebels came here and then found, tamed, and learned how to ride the indigenous Tauntauns, and built a whole base inside the mountain in 3 years, and no one from the Empire had any idea.
I mean, yeah, sure, the rebels learned how to ride these Tauntauns. They're like horses, so I don't see how it'd be difficult. And building a base in 3 years sounds pretty reasonable to me. That's a long time. And what do you mean by no one from the Empire had any idea? Of course they wouldn't. If I had to guess, they've been sending probes across the galaxy for a while, and they only just now got to Hoth. It's a pretty dang big galaxy, so I find this believable.
Well, that was some convenient timing, assuming this planet is not super tiny. What are the odds Luke's patrol coincides perfectly with the probe's arrival?
That's kind of what a patrol is for, to look for things. And besides, why does this convenience matter? Normally I understand this criticism because it affects the plot, but in this case it doesn't. Luke would have been captured by the Wampa even if this probe wasn't anywhere near him.
Movie rips off Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer's abominable snowman.
Are you seriously suggesting Rudolph invented the concept of an abominable snowman? Because that's pretty ignorant if so.
Holy shit. Who would have guessed that of all 3 movies, including the one where she wears a bikini, that this would be the sexiest Leia moment of all?
Including the one where she wears a bikini? Dude, what?
Discount Hoth chic C-3PO.
That's droidist.
I thought you had decided to stay.
Well, the bounty hunter we ran into when Lord Mendel changed my mind.
First off, Han refers to some other adventure we have no context for unless we read the f***ing books.
I don't doubt this was in some Marvel comics back in the day, but you absolutely don't need to read those to get context. We already saw in the last movie that Han had a big debt to pay to Jabba after dumping some cargo that he was meant to deliver to him. This is picking up from that plot line.
Second off, Han decides it's time to go because he ran into a bounty hunter on some other planet who obviously doesn't know where he is now. It's been 3 years. Does Han actually think it's best to risk his freedom by going to Jabba now?
Yes, he doesn't want Jabba sending any more bounty hunters after him, and it could also put Chewie, Leia, Luke, or any of the other rebels in danger. I'm sure Han still has that money Leia paid him.
Excuse me, sir. Might I? Yes, sir.
Covering a robot's mouth actually stops it from making noise. Huh. Who knew?
I think it's easy to assume that that's still where his voice comes out whenever he talks.
Hungry Wampa decided to knock out Luke and put him in the fridge before eating him.
Because the Wampa is eating Luke's Tauntaun right now.
And Luke has been dangling upside down unconscious for who knows how long. Blood running to his head. And before you go telling me his Jedi ways help him avoid traditional physiological problems like that, I'll point out his Jedi ways did jack and shit to help him avoid landing in this situation to begin with.
Dude, we don't know how long Luke has been hanging here, so maybe shut up until he can prove that you have context.
The real question is, how did that lightsaber manage to fall close enough to Luke for this, but far enough away that it couldn't have just slipped out of his holster and fallen straight down?
I would imagine the Wampa was holding him around this area, and as it was moving him into position to hang him, the lightsaber fell out.
I get what you're going for here, I really do, but in the last movie you showed me this asshole using the Force while blind to deflect unseen laser blasts from a drone. How can he do that, but not this?
He literally does it. And if you're trying to ask why he's struggling, then I'd say it's clear from context that he hasn't done this before, or at least not very often to be well practiced at it.
What is it about this series and cutting arms or hands off?
Because lightsabers are sharp enough to do that. I've explained this twice already in my prequel videos.
Luke is smart, right? Why doesn't he just kill that thing and stay in the cave? Han's so worried about nightfall he's headed out to find Luke, and he does, but only because Luke is stupid enough to wander out of the cave just before nightfall.
Probably because he isn't thinking clearly.
I still say that in all the Star Wars movies, the most unbelievable thing is that Han somehow finds Luke during dusk on a huge snow planet.
Nah, the most unbelievable thing in all the Star Wars movies is Palpatine dying the way he did. In Episode 9, I mean.
Tauntaun Ex Machina.
Right, a Tauntaun dying in this super cold weather is a solution that came out of nowhere. Right.
Why is this asshole flying up and down over the hills, rather than just flying over the hills? Does he like to cheat death on rescue missions?
Because he's looking for Luke and Han. Being closer to the ground helps with that.
Hothspa?
Jeremy points things out on the screen cliche.
It's metal.
Then it couldn't be one of those creatures.
Could be a speeder, one of ours.
You mean the speeders you were just told last night can't go out in the cold?
It's called optimism. You know, something you are an affront to.
Can we all at least agree that in this one instance Han shot second?
I'm not laughing.
That is the system, and I'm sure Skywalker is with them. Set your course for the Hoth system.
Look, if you're sure, as you say, why did it take a drone report and a photograph for you to figure out Skywalker's location?
Aren't those two things the reason he is sure?
The rebels are alerted to our presence. Admiral Ozzel came out of light speed too close to the system.
Why didn't Vader specifically leave an order not to do that? Or is the movie saying no one could have possibly known that and Vader's just being a dick?
No, the movie is saying that Admiral Ozzel should have been smart enough to realize that flying too close would alert the rebels. Like, come on, I think Vader is right to be frustrated because that sounds too obvious. No wonder Ozzel dies for this.
Sir, rebel ships are coming into our sector.
Good. Our first catch of the day.
After one small ship beat the Death Star, ignorance and confidence are the same thing.
Isn't that because the Empire chased the rebels away from Yavin after the Death Star blew up? That was in the opening crawl. Oh, that's right. You straight up admitted that you didn't pay enough attention to read it.
So you can land these things outside the energy shield, but you can't get some quick fighters down here to perform an aerial assault? Look, these things are awesome in many ways, but that doesn't mean they make sense. Besides, how are these things not using tracks like tanks to move? They needed to use actual freaking legs.
You just said these AT-ATs are awesome, but you don't seem to understand why they're awesome. The reason these things are memorable is because of their massive size. They're meant to scare the rebels and make them want to give up. That's why they created the Death Star in the first place. Fear.
Rogue group, use your harpoons and tow cables. Go for the legs.
Why the hell do these small fighters have tow cables? For towing a 1974 Buick? And harpoons for, I guess, whaling?
Just because you don't know the answer, that doesn't make it a sin for the movie. There most likely is a reason, but it's not important to know to understand or enjoy the film.
Luke survives this crash.
It doesn't look that fatal. Besides, he clearly has seatbelts and harnesses inside to save him. Repeating what I said in my last video, seatbelts save lives.
This bucket of bolts is never going to get us past that blockade.
That's kind of true, but why was Luke's X-Wing somehow able to get through the blockade no problem?
I like the explanation that the Empire thinks Luke would be inside the Millennium Falcon, and even if they think he could be in an X-Wing, there are a ton of them, so of course some of them would make it through.
Man, this ship is always taking off just in the nick of time, and while being shot at. I'm sure it takes off under normal, calm circumstances plenty of times, but we don't ever seem to see it.
You know, except at the very end of this movie when Lando and Chewie leave to rescue Han.
Who's flying the ship right now? Leia?
Yes, it's Leia. We literally see her flying the Falcon right here.
There was no laser blast. Something hit us.
Like an asteroid? How does an asteroid hit you when you're not dead yet?
It's a pretty dang big ship, and asteroids come in all shapes and sizes.
Water creatures in the Star Wars franchise never find the heroes tasty.
This implies that Dianoga in A New Hope didn't find Luke tasty, but it literally let him go and swam off to avoid the trash compactor. Like, you saw that movie, right? I sent that video.
Whoa, that does not look like James Earl Jones at all.
Well, that's a bit offensive. And no, I'm not saying this because James Earl Jones is dead now. I feel like this discredits voice actors in Hollywood for all their hard work, just as much as Hollywood has been poorly treating them.
I'm looking for someone.
Looking? Found someone you have, I would say.
Tonight on Unsolved Mysteries, we'll try to figure out where Yoda's sense of humor went after this one scene in The Empire Strikes Back.
Right here. That look is so priceless, oh my gosh.
Luke's dinner consists of Cheetos, blocks that look like cheese, some sort of white candy or pills, hush puppies, and strips of drywall.
Jeremy points things out on the screen cliche.
You seek Yoda.
You know him?
Take it to him, I will.
Just like Obi-Wan, Yoda initially pretends not to be the person he actually is, mostly just to f with the audience, I mean Luke.
No, it's to teach Luke patience. He explains that after Luke fails the test and Yoda reveals himself.
Where the f is this? Why are holograms just shooting out of the floor here?
Why are there screens in some instances and random holograms in others?
Ah, classic CinemaSins holograms cliche. My, how I've missed you.
I have no doubt this boy is the offspring of Anakin Skywalker.
which is a weird thing to say to Anakin Skywalker.
The point is that Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader are viewed as different people. That's what Obi-Wan was doing when he told Luke that Vader betrayed and murdered Anakin. And by the way, I don't mean this one body has two different personalities entirely. I don't think it's meant to be literal.
Also, didn't the very fact that his name is Luke Skywalker tip you off? You can't seriously expect us to believe that after Luke destroyed the Death Star, the Empire didn't hear what the hell his name was.
What? What do these two things have to do with each other? How does Luke Skywalker's name make Vader realize that he's his son, connect to the Empire, never hearing Luke's name at all? What is the sin here?
I cannot teach him. The boy has no patience.
Yoda talks about Luke to a ghost in front of Luke, and this is his way of revealing himself to actually be Yoda.
Narration.
This one, a long time have I watched. All his life as he looked away to the future, to the horizon.
Maybe because you assholes stuck him on a shitty distant planet with his aunt and uncle, and gave him no other type of future to look forward to. How the hell do you blame him for that? Are you saying if you'd stuck around on Tatooine and enjoyed dusting crops, you'd have flown out here like magic to train him?
Yeah, possibly. But there's something else you're missing. Obi-Wan wanted to train Luke during the 19 years he was on Tatooine, but Owen wouldn't allow it. You're phrasing this as if Obi-Wan and Yoda put him there intending to have him yearn for adventure, but that's just not it.
He is too old.
Is Yoda cranky? Does he not really want to train Luke? Why the 100 excuses thing? I know we're building tension for the audience. I mean Luke, but other than that, why is he so resistant? This movie is basically saying Ghost Obi-Wan is wiser than 800-year-old Yoda, which is just f***ing stupid.
Why is he so resistant? How can you ask that, but also ask why the 100 excuses thing, which makes it sound like you heard his excuses? Yoda told us why he doesn't want to train Luke. He is reckless, arrogant, and too old to train, which, by the way, is very similar to the Jedi's reasoning for not wanting to train Anakin. And look what happened to him. They were right to be hesitant, and the only reason they gave in is because Obi-Wan insisted. So since Luke is very much like his father, Yoda has reason to believe he could follow the same path Anakin did. But, just like with Anakin, Obi-Wan is being insistent about training him. I would call him the stupid one in this case, and I'm saying this as a massive Kenobi fan, by the way. Also, the sin number disappears for a second.
Cool for sure, but how does a creature this giant survive on an asteroid with little to no food available?
They tend to feed on mineral-rich deposits, interstellar energy, and even other space creatures like Minox.
That place is strong, with the dark side of the Force. A domain of evil it is.
There's a domain of evil sitting around just being evil in the Dagobah system? What the f*** for?
Does it matter? Why wouldn't there be a cave like this on this planet? And why wouldn't that be precisely the reason Yoda chose to hide here, aside from it being a good hiding spot from the Empire? Also, the sin number changes too early.
What the f*** for?
No weapons. You will not need them.
What will really bake your noodle is what this would have been if Luke hadn't brought his weapons with him.
Luke wasn't supposed to fight Vader here. Notice that Vader doesn't turn on his lightsaber until Luke turns on his. Luke is meant to overcome his fear and not rely on his weapon, and that's how he ultimately wins in the next movie.
Someone set this video game to the easy setting.
Hilarious.
Symbolism. Also, Luke cuts off Dream Vader's head and sees his own face inside, and still can't figure out what's going on. The Force is literally screaming the truth at him, but he's not listening.
Are you freaking serious right now? You're saying this over the film that includes one of the most, if not the most, iconic twists of all time. And one of the reasons it's so iconic is because no one saw it coming. So this isn't obvious since the audience didn't realize what this truly means until the reveal. In fact, I'd more so say they would interpret this as the movie saying Luke could become Vader, which this film, along with Return of the Jedi, tease is a possibility.
Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter.
Yoda breaks the teacher-student boundary rule.
Wasn't he literally riding on Luke's back a second ago?
Okay, so after this big talk about how rocks and spaceships are different from each other, and size doesn't matter and all that jazz, Yoda then proceeds to power the ship out of the water, but with considerable effort, I might add. If the Force supposedly doesn't distinguish the size of objects, this thing should have emerged immediately.
Jeremy, that is not how the Force works. I briefly mentioned this in my Attack of the Clones video, so I'm going to elaborate on that. Just because size doesn't matter, that doesn't mean lifting heavy things is just as easy as lifting lightweighted objects. An apt comparison to explain what I'm saying is weightlifting. Yes, it's possible that you can lift a 100-pound dumbbell, but it still requires training and effort. You need to do the work to accomplish that. That same logic applies here. The X-Wing is still heavy, so Yoda needs to put in a lot of effort to get it to move. This is why Rey lifting all those rocks in The Last Jedi was dumb, because it didn't look like it took her any effort at all, and she doesn't even look tired when she drops them.
Captain Solo, this time you have gone too far.
What the hell is he blabbing about? Gone too far? In what way? This is an amazing move of considerable cunning, and it got them out of being captured or killed. It at the very least bought time, even if he didn't have a plan after that.
That's how C-3PO is characterized. He's paranoid and thinks they could get caught doing this. He's been this way since the very beginning.
Instead of waiting even a few minutes after floating away with the garbage before taking off, Han takes off immediately, thereby allowing himself to be trailed. Boba Fett makes one of the luckiest guesses ever and has himself shot out with the trash to follow the Falcon, just in case it was doing the old attach yourself to the big ship so it can't be read by their scopes and leave when they empty their trash trick.
Dude, these two sins contradict each other. Why would Han wait any longer as if he knew Boba Fett was right there to follow him?
If you leave now, help them you could, but you will destroy all for which they have fought and suffered.
Because your dad is Darth Vader and he can turn you to the dark side and the rebels would lose the war. But that's a spoiler for the audience that you, the most important character in this movie, is just better off not knowing.
Yoda explained in the next movie why they didn't tell him right away. Because Luke wasn't ready for the burden of knowing that his dad is the second most evil man in the galaxy. It's better to finish his training so he can be as calm and collected as possible when they tell him, and then hopefully he would destroy Vader and the Emperor and bring balance to the Force.
Welcome, Leia.
Leia isn't pregnant with Lando's baby already.
Am I the only one who finds this creepy, or...
If you end your training now, if you choose the quick and easy path, as Vader did, you will become an agent of evil.
Except he doesn't, so in your face, false prediction Yoda.
That's because Anakin did the same thing and turned to the dark side. Luke, being his son, was assumed to follow the same path. Yoda just didn't expect that Luke would actually refuse Vader's offer.
Aha! Proof that Cloud City is funded by Gringotts.
That's racist.
I'm surprised Vader didn't shoot Han first.
We're repeating this joke from the last video. Come on, I'm not even gonna try and pretend to laugh.
I had no choice. They arrived right before you did.
How did they do that? Even if Boba Fett tells Vader that they're going to Cloud City immediately after he starts following the Falcon has a huge head start, and this is after the Star Destroyers went into lightspeed in a different direction.
Remember, the Falcon's hyperdrive was malfunctioned. Who knows how long it took them to get to Cloud City? Space is big. That makes it possible for the Empire to get there before them.
This contraption does things so horrible, it's better left off screen, because whatever bullshit that thing is doing is probably bullshit. But it sure does hurt.
Are you saying you want to see Han get tortured? That's a bit sadistic, wouldn't you say?
I love you.
I know.
Okay, I've been trying to resist removing sins, but then he removed one for this iconic scene. Screw it, I'm giving in.
Skywalker has just landed, my lord.
Good. See to it that he finds his way in here.
Awesome. How the f do I do that? Do you think he'd respond to breadcrumbs?
How about you watch the movie to see how they did that? They were specifically holding Leia and Chewie hostage, then walked to the spot where they wanted Luke to go.
Luke! Luke, don't, it's a trap!
Somehow, despite this scene, it's still Admiral Akbar that is most remembered for saying it's a trap.
And somehow Obi-Wan says hello there in A New Hope, but he is more famous for saying it in Revenge of the Sith. I still haven't forgiven you for sending that scene, by the way.
Also, like any hero in any adventure, Luke ignores his friend's warning that it's all a trap, because the power of space boners is stronger.
Not only is this a Jeremy Says boner sin, it's in reference to these two, despite Jeremy knowing that they're siblings.
Oh, they actually succeeded in following Vader's orders to lead Luke here, by parading the prisoners around in circles below this arena until he showed up, apparently.
And doesn't that debunk that previous sin where you questioned this very thing?
Do you think that after what you did to Han, the women...
Oh, come on. This is one of those things where I understand, but I don't understand. He just risked his own neck to take you out of custody, but we're going to waste time with trust issues after a baller move like that?
I don't blame them though. Lando allowed Han to be frozen in carbonite and sent to Jabba. Both Leia and Chewie love the guy, so they're emotionally distracted. You just don't treat Indiana Jones like that.
Rest of the good guys running directly by random spot R2-D2 just happen to wind up cliche.
This is literally the first time this specific thing has happened. And I honestly can't think of any other time it has happened in these movies.
Obi-Wan has taught you well.
Why does Vader assume that Obi-Wan taught Luke? And we know that Luke doesn't quite have a hold of his thoughts and his emotions yet, so how does Yoda not pop into Darth Vader's head? And if dead Obi-Wan could have done the training, why did Luke even have to go to the Dagobah system?
Dude, what? Of course Vader would assume Obi-Wan trained him. The two arrived on the Death Star together. Vader knows who Obi-Wan is, and Luke already knows the Force well enough to destroy the dang Death Star. I feel like I shouldn't have to spell that out, but apparently I do. And the Empire assumed Yoda was dead, by the way.
Vader starts using the Force to throw objects at Luke during the battle, which not only feels like cheating, but also makes me wonder why he doesn't do more of that.
It's blatant that Vader wants to figure out how powerful Luke is after he escaped the carbon freezing. After cutting his hand off, he later asks him to join him so they can overthrow the Emperor and take over the galaxy.
There goes another limb. No one just gets stabbed by a lightsaber in this series, do they?
Let's just see how true that claim is, shall we?
He told me you killed him. No. I am your father.
We're gonna get a supreme bullshit explanation for this discrepancy, aren't we? Movie paints suicide as the noble choice.
If it's a choice between dying and joining the dark side where you'll very likely have to commit murder, then yeah.
Well, if the antenna isn't an ex machina, him somehow grabbing onto it while falling definitely is.
No, it isn't.
Ben, why didn't you tell me?
Because if he had, it wouldn't have been a big whammy for the audience. How can this character not know he's in a movie, for Christ's sake?
Okay, Jeremy has been making this same point too many times that the reveal was only done for the audience. So here's a sin for repeating that point.
You guys have hyperdrive, right?
Lightspeed tracking wouldn't exist for another 30 years. For making me acknowledge The Last Jedi again, you get another sin. Show me the best Yoda duel. I said the best Yoda duel. I said the best Yoda duel.
Perfection.